Good afternoon and welcome to the Plano Community Difference. I'm your host, Nathan Smith. We've got a great show outlined for you today. We're going to hear from Shelby Williams, councilman from Plano. Had him on the show a couple times, but a lot of cool things happening he's going to update us on in the great city of Plano. All housing, what's going on with the housing numbers last week and just the influx of people from Ashley Gentry. But let's talk about mortgages. We're going to sit with our resident mortgage expert, Alan Lester, today. Also, we've got an awesome new sponsor we're going to get to talk about today, Jason Velo with Good as Steak Seasoning. We'll have him on the show. Stick around. All that next on the Community Difference Plano.
Tune in to watch our communities grow. See how our citizens, local governments, churches, small businesses, schools, and our local sports teams are coming together and partnering to make the difference. Are you ready? Let's go. Welcome to the Community Difference, Plano, Texas, with your host, Nathan Smith, and powered by the Difference live stream radio and podcast. So if you love your community and you love supporting the folks and businesses that make your community so special, then we invite you to like, follow, and subscribe to our pages, and then tune into each show to experience the Community Difference.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Community Difference Plano, Texas. I'm your host, Nathan Smith. We are delighted to be here to just be a part of the great community, the great city that is Plano, Texas. Coming at you live from our new office here, and just a great day. We've got a great show, some good stuff coming for the rest of the month as well, which we'll talk about shortly. This is a month with 5 Tuesdays. So we will not have a show on the 5th Tuesday. So we'll be here next week, and then we'll take hopefully a much deserved little break, and then we'll come back in the beginning of June. So a lot of exciting things happening. You know, we are just our goal, of course, is to bring together resources for the citizens of Plano, for our listeners, in all areas of community life. You know, we talk about, what are the things that are concerning to the citizens of Plano? Housing prices, right? If I want to sell my house, I can get a killer deal on my house, but where am I going to move to? We tackled some of that last week with Ashley Gentry, Red Branch Realty. Today, we're going to talk about the mortgage, what's going on with mortgage rates. They're going up. What does that look like? What does that mean for Plano? A lot of things that are really at the heart of what we're concerned about as citizens. We get to hear from our, I call them our resident city councilman, but we're working on building some additional relationships with different city council folks. Shelby Williams has been gracious enough to call in and hop on with us in just a few minutes here with from his car, which is pretty awesome. So a lot of great things are happening, and we've got a couple of new sponsors that we're working towards. We're going to bring those to you guys, and our goal, if you've been following us from the beginning, is to bring really, I like to use the word synergy, right? The synergy in that all aspects of community life, right? If you have kids, you care a lot about what's going on in the school districts, right? You care a lot about your kids' education. You care a lot about the directions. You might care a lot about athletic or sports or competition, things of that nature, right? If you're one of our senior citizens, you want to know, like, where are the good senior communities? Where's the care that I need when I get to a certain age? Maybe you feel that way for your family, right? Looking at our veterans, our first responders, just small businesses, even the corporations that exist in our communities are a huge integral part of community life, right? The places that they go eat, whether they get their products from, whatever those corporations are, how they interact, their charitable efforts towards the community, all that coexists kind of really in a synergistic way to bring about community life, and it affects all of us in various different ways. So we want to bring you the news, the events, the things that are going on that are important to you as citizens of Plano, and hopefully as we continue to grow the show, our presence, and we'll have some exciting guests, people on here to bring those things to you. You'll start seeing some staples in other words, things that we'll have, a couple times a month or every week. In other words, just keeping you apprised of everything that going on that you, as a citizen of Plano, care about and find important. And so we have the pleasure of networking with a good buddy of mine now that I've known for a little while. Jason Velo. He's a I shouldn't say I haven't actually had his cooking yet. Apparently, he's a barbecue. I don't know if he's a smoking expert, but he's a grilling expert, I think is what I'm understanding. And so I get to the pleasure of being in a networking group with him, and he's come on as our one of our new sponsors for the show, and he has a phenomenal seasoning product called Goodness Steak. We had him on a couple weeks ago, but now he's a new sponsor. So I want to bring him back on and have Jason pop in here in just a moment. Jason, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing really good. Thanks so much.
Morning. It's afternoon.
Try not to advertise for two different companies here.
That's okay. Hey, you got to do what you got to do. Well, man, first of all, how was your weekend? Did you have a good weekend? You told me you were busy when we talked earlier today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Had a good weekend. I had my boys. We did a bunch of different things and just things they're involved in and into the school year. So we got to have a good time. It was awesome. It was good, real good weekend.
School year is winding down, which is probably a good thing for most parents. That's something that they look forward to. Most of a lot of my people I work with and agents and clients, they're always like, just let me get through school. Let me get through school, and then I'll have so much time. And of course, we find stuff to do in the summertime too. So who knows?
Of course.
Well, we'll jump right into it. You decided to partner with The Difference from a sponsorship standpoint. Talk about why, your experience here, why you felt like that was a good partnership, and kind of what you want to get out of that, specifically with this show, the Community Difference Plano.
Yeah. Well, the Goodness Steak seasoning, it is, locally produced, and we are, we're an all natural kind of product. We actually, cared to improve our, I don't know, I'd say improve our world, one meal at a time, maybe. But, one thing that is a mission of Goodness Steak seasoning is actually to, go out into the community and find ways to improve the community, without ever even mentioning Goodness Steak seasoning.
Yeah.
Like, we want to just do some good things, overall. And, part of that is just, it's a Christian mission, that I have within my heart to be able to, share the goodness of God with them, and therefore Goodness Steak seasoning.
That's amazing. Now, when we had you on last time, you gave a really long, very good kind of story. You told the whole story of how you got started, how you came up with the name. Can you give us like a quick, 1 to 2 minute recap of kind of how what made you decide, first of all, I need to create a seasoning, and then, kind of how you came across the name, et cetera.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to kind of up the game, at home, for steak night for the family. I just, salt and pepper's great, but I'd been to some high end, restaurants, the Perry's, the one that used to be on Spring Valley, but there's some real high end ones. And I was like, man, that stuff's really good. And I'm like, I kind of want to play with things. I've been cooking since I was probably like 8 years old with my mom. And so I thought, I'm going to do something a little different. And so I kind of got some spices out that were my kind of favorite spices, started mixing them up. And then probably within 6-8 months, I kind of had the formula down, and it was just for steak night for the family. And so Christmas of 2020, I decided to give some away to clients and coworkers and friends. And man, a couple dozen of them came back and were like, dude, you've got to start selling this. Like, this is really good. And I went, okay. And I maybe had that thought before, but that really, kicked me into it. And so, finding the Goodness name, because people would try it, just try, steak for steak night. And they're like, man, that's good. Like, man, that's good. And I'm going, okay, yeah. And so I thought about it, I was thinking, for Goodness Steak seasoning. I was like, no, that's probably taking it. That's kind of long. I don't like that. But just settled on Goodness Steak seasoning, because it's just good. And ultimately the goodness of God, his creativity that we see in each one of us in nature as well. We have his creativity as well. And so it is the goodness of God that produced Goodness Steak seasoning. Man,
that's awesome. So now, you tell me about what is your expertise when it comes to is it grilling or smoking?
Grilling. I do a fair amount with grilling. I'll watch enough YouTube videos. I'm actually let me find this real quick. I am a member of the Steak Cook-Off Association, so I'll do cook-offs from time to time. And, I like to know that, that I like good food. I want to provide good food. I like to, have parties and provide good food. And, I wouldn't say I could, if somebody says, yes, I'd like mine, medium well, blah, blah, blah. First of all, I'd say, get out. Well, I don't cook steak. Like I get the medium and I stop. I'm like, sorry.
If you like your medium
on that, you're ruining the steak.
Well, yeah, you don't like steak. I feel like that's kind of
I'm a steak snob that way. And so, but I wouldn't, somebody call me an expert. Believe me, I'm an expert in flavor. As soon as you try it, you're like, oh my gosh, that guy wasn't kidding. I mean, and that's not a prideful thing. Every person that's ever tried it, every single person, and I've sold, in the last year, and barely over a year, I've sold over 2,000 bottles of this stuff. No one has ever said I didn't like it, ever.
That's amazing.
And then
we're gonna have
and then say I didn't like it because okay, but no one has ever said they didn't like it. So it's actually very, very good.
Awesome. Well, we're the difference is now on YouTube and on Facebook at # The Difference live stream radio and podcast, and # The Difference streaming media on YouTube. And we're going to give Jason has been gracious to give away a bottle of his delicious seasoning, which I have used on everything from potatoes to eggs to popcorn, obviously meats. Literally, we don't even call it goodness steak. We just in my house, it's like, hey, where's the seasoning? It's just seasoning.
It's like Kleenex now.
We don't even need to.
Everything's Kleenex.
With everything else,
that's
most of the other season we just get rid of in the house. So we're excited to have you on board as a sponsor, and obviously you guys will see a lot more of Goodness Steak seasoning. Now you've got an event coming up here on the 5th of June. Tell us about that. We get to see your skills at work. Yes,
on June the 5th at Tender Smokehouse in Frisco, Texas. So straight up on Preston from 121. Master Networks North region, the Texas North. We are having a family get-together cookout and a barbecue competition where you'll enter, if you want to, for brisket, pork ribs, and pulled pork. And so you'll be able to enter that, and we're raising funds for the Carson's Crusaders Foundation, which helps families that are dealing with pediatric cancer. And we do a lot with sibling support for those families as well. So if they have a brother or sister that's in the family, we make sure that they are taken care of and loved just the same while their siblings going through cancer. So that's what it is. It's June the 5th. It starts at 1:00. It'll go till 6 p.m. There will be prizes for the cook-off part as well with the cook-off competition. We will have a side item that you can enter for in a competition, and also dessert for dessert. And so I'm going to enter in with dessert. It will not have Goodness Steak seasoning on it.
That's probably good.
No.
That's awesome.
But then I'll, the Goodness Steak seasoning will be out there. We have a few other sponsors as well that are going to be out there. Mullins General Construction and Sergeant Sully's Smoked Meats. And so, it's going to be a great time. If you want to come on out June 5th, and we'll have a landing page very soon so you can buy tickets in advance for that. So we know exactly, what all we need to have cooked for you.
That's awesome. So, you may be wondering why we're talking about a restaurant in Frisco on a Plano show. Well, it's all, as we focus on, the Plano community, and we have a community difference Frisco, you see, a lot of our communities are really connected in a lot of ways. So, Jason and I are part of the Plano Master Networks group, but we're also friends with people in a Frisco Master Networks group. Carson's Crusaders is a company that he sits on the board at. We've had Leslie Lord on the show before. She's kind of she runs the show over there at Carson's, but they help families in Plano all across North Texas. So it is, as you start seeing really our vision, as you start seeing different aspects of community life, you realize not only are we really connected in Plano, but we've got connections with all the surrounding cities, as citizens, and in every aspect of what we do, and just highlighting all those connections and getting people to see the good that's happening is really a positive thing. So, well, man, I will see you on Thursday at our networking group, and then we'll get together before too long again at the on June 5th. Looking forward to that. It's a family affair. Everybody can come out. And I know our charities will appreciate that. And we're going to commercial break, but man, I appreciate you jumping on with us, and we will see you soon. Have a good one, Jason.
The difference is made possible by the following small businesses.
Real property management focus. An unmatched level of service to property owners, investors, and tenants throughout the DFW Metroplex. When you need a trusted roofing company on your side to help you out with storm damage repair for your roof, call Cook DFW Roofing. Serving Anna, Melissa, Princeton, Prosper, Van Alstyne, and all of the DFW area.
Red Branch Realty and owner realtor Ashley Gentry are true champions at every level. As a top producer, Ashley Gentry and Red Branch Realty truly embody their mission of being your supporter and partner in your personal real estate journey. So if finding the best representation possible in achieving the American dream of homeownership is important to you, give Ashley a call at 972-342-1869. WeatherTech General Contracting. We make your home renovation dreams a reality.
And by
Alan Lester, branch manager and team lead for the One Group, a branch of Town Square Mortgage. With over 22 years in the mortgage lending industry, Allen and Town Square Mortgage have many loan program options available from conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, jumbo, and many investor and self-employed programs. So if you're looking for the best in the business, give Allen a call at 214-681-0234.
For more information about our sponsors and their services, or if you would like information on how you and your business can partner with or sponsor this show, or others like it, just check the show description or comments for the relevant links and contact information. And now back to the show.
All righty, guys. Welcome back to Community Difference Plano. Great talk with Jason Below, first quarter of the show. We're going to talk with Shelby Williams, city council member here in the great city of Plano, Texas. We've had him on. I think this is his third time on, and we, kind of connected offline yesterday. There's a lot of stuff happening in Plano, and we just like to bring him in and as we build a relationship with other city council folks and just make sure that you guys as citizens know what's happening, right? We talked about this a lot early on, even in previous shows on the difference before we created these community shows, about how little involvement most citizens have in their local government, their local community, as far as knowing their community leaders, voting for their community leaders. Same problem with the school board. So we want to give a face to a person that's working hard for you guys behind the scenes. And we'll just bring on Shelby Williams now. He's in a car. I think he's having some audio problems or some video problems. So we're just going to have the audio stream, but we'll bring him in here. Shelby, can you hear me?
I can. Thank you so much for having me on and for your flexibility and letting me do this from the car.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Well, man, last time we talked, you were on the show. You talked about the Texas Independent Festival. I think it was Saturday, the 23rd of March. We went out there, 26th of March. And
Yep.
you and I got to meet each other's families, which was really cool. Had a picture
That's
together. Right. And that was that was the first time that was done, right? That was the first one of those festivals, correct?
That is correct. That was our inaugural festival, and we didn't go as big as the Plano Balloon Festival, but we tried it out relatively small at Haggard Park, and a good measure of the success was that all of the vendors ran out of stuff. So they had prepared for a certain attendance, and they were blown away.
Yeah, I remember going to we went to one food truck, and they're like, "All we have is Fritos." I'm like, "That just the chips? That's it?" "Yep, that's it." So I'm like, well, I guess you're having a good day. So
that's right.
Yep. Not only as a citizen of Texas, or it's really cool to celebrate that, but you told me, if I recall, that concept, that idea was posed to you guys.
That is exactly right. It was a resident who proposed, "Hey, why don't we have a Texas Independence Day festival?" Now, we didn't actually have it on Texas Independence Day. Unfortunately, that's how, for our initial one, that's how the scheduling fell out with all the events we have going on through the year. So hopefully next year we'll be a little closer. But also, we had originally brought this up in 2019. and we had explored it. We're going to have it explored into 2020, and the pandemic happened. So the initial festival, which we had intended for 2021, didn't happen. This year we finally had it, but I bring a lot of ideas to council. Most of them are not actually mine. Residents come to me with concerns, ideas, etc., and I'm happy to talk with everyone. I have a 100% meeting policy, and I'm happy to bring a lot of those ideas before the council for consideration. And this was one that everybody got behind. Everybody's got an American Independence Day festival on or around July 4th. Very few have an actual Texas Independence Day festival, so we're very proud to bring that to Plano.
Well, and if you're going to celebrate a state's independence, it might as well be Texas. I mean, let's be honest. So
that's right.
It's a pretty big deal. Well, man, that's awesome. So you've got a couple things going on. When we talked yesterday, talk to me about the listening tour that's going on in Plano. Explain that to me.
Yep, and actually, we had just wrapped up the listening tour not long before the Texas Fest. So, or Texas Forever Festival, I should say. And so what this was, the Plano City Council and city staff conducted more than 20 sessions of the listening tour. We had it, this was both conducted in numerous locations around Plano, and we had several Zoom sessions for those who couldn't join us in person. And over the course of about a month, we conducted these sessions, usually around 90 minutes each. And as the name suggests, on a listening tour, our job as council was to sit down, shut up, and listen. And we had, on average, I'd say about a dozen residents show up to each of these. Now, bear in mind, you mentioned that the level of participation and awareness in local government is very low. Like in Plano's city elections, we're lucky, really lucky to get 10% voter turnout. So having a dozen people on average show up to each of these was actually very encouraging.
Man, so
a couple of the themes that came out of, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you say they're all at City Hall, or are there different places that you're going to listen to people?
Oh no, we held these all around the city. In fact, I'm not sure we did any of them at City Hall.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, at least 2 council members and 2 staff members attended each one. I attended one at Tom Muhlenbeck Center and one at, I think, Haggard Library, and 1 or 2 online. And so we shared the wealth, and each of us spent time at different sessions just listening. And we had a professional facilitator conducting these sessions, aggregating all of the feedback. And then we were presented with that feedback just a handful of council meetings ago. 3 of the things that really stood out, especially when I was sitting there listening, not just listening to the summary, but in the actual sessions, hearing from our actual residents, is number 1, public safety. Everybody's concerned about public safety. This is nothing new, of course, but there's a renewed sense of awareness after 2020, the events of 2020. And in recent months, panhandling has become a big problem in Plano. So that's hot on people's minds. And of course, that's something the council is trying to diligently address, but people are very concerned about it. So heard, understood. Public safety has always been my number 1 priority. As I've said, it's the number 1 responsibility of every single level of government. Number 2, communication. People don't feel that they are receiving information as well as they could. And so there's an opportunity for us to streamline how we communicate with residents and how we bring it to their attention. So, and then the third thing is people want to know how they can get involved and volunteer. Now, bear in mind, and we do have a great program, VIP, Volunteering in Plano, but kind of going hand in hand with the communication concern, people aren't aware of how they can volunteer, else they wouldn't have said so in the listening tour sessions. And every single listening tour session I attended, that was something that people brought up. And bear in mind that the people who are inclined to come to these listening tour sessions in the first place are our most engaged citizens. They are the ones who do show up to vote in the local elections. So we can definitely do a better job with communication and hopefully capitalize on that interest in volunteering. And this actually led to an idea. This was actually one of mine, not a resident's, but that's not to say we don't have tons of good ideas from our residents, but it was our residents surfacing this concern that led to the idea. So you can say the residents definitely get a notable assist. So
That's awesome.
we on the Plano City Council, we have adopted what's now called the no new revenue tax rate, previously called the effective tax rate, 3 years in a row, ever since I was elected. Now, those were all unanimous votes. It wasn't me single-handedly that did that. But what that means is we just kept taxes flat from one year to the next. So the Plano City portion of your property tax bill accounts for about 20%, depending on exemptions, 20% of your total tax bill. And that had been climbing for several years. So we basically put the brakes on that, and it applies an aggregate calculation across the entire city. So say your mileage may vary. If your property value, taxes were staying absolutely flat. If your property value went up more than the average increase in the city, then you were getting a little bit of a tax increase. If your property value went up less than the actual average increase in the city, you're actually getting a little bit of a tax cut. So
Okay. Cool.
in your actual tax bill, the actual money you shell out to the taxman, not just the rate. So we've been able to do that for 3 years in a row now. And I wanted to do that again for a fourth year, which would make it every year of my first term. I'm up for re-election next year. But inflationary pressure is just that, it's pressure. And the municipal cost index is skyrocketing, but so is the consumer price index. So cost of city services is going up, cost of construction materials is going up, cost of everything is going up. But I don't want to hit our residents with a double whammy. I don't want them to have to suffer through the inflation we're suffering through right now and get hit with higher taxes. So the idea was, we got all these people who are willing to volunteer. What can we do as a city to basically put the Volunteering in Plano program, the VIP program, on steroids? We've got a handful of departments who manage volunteers really well, none better than the Plano Police. And then our animal shelter and our library also make fantastic use of volunteers. But not all of our departments are very savvy and skilled in volunteer management. It's just a very different ballgame than staff management. So if we could create an organization, a citywide program to source and resource volunteers who are willing, and I'm not just talking about trash pickup or animal washing or things like that, but actual skilled things in some ways, instead of having to put out requisitions to hire new staff and keep increasing taxes to pay for it, what can we do to have our citizens provide volunteer services to offset some of that? And an overhaul like that isn't going to happen rapidly. So I doubt we'd be able to have something in place to actually make the no new revenue tax rate happen again this year. But it's something I do want to look at in the future. And actually, we were slated to speak about it at the last council meeting, but we had so much on the preliminary open agenda, we pushed it to, I think it'll be on next week's meeting, to have a robust discussion about that amongst council and get the ball rolling. But that's my next big idea for the future of Plano, and it's twofold. It's not only to offset the increasing cost of city services, but also, and it's not limited to residents, by the way. There are innumerable ways we can get our corporate partners, our nonprofit partners, our faith community to chip in and help contribute to the community in a way maybe they never even considered before, and really set a gold standard for the city across Texas.
I think that would be really cool, because that really, I mean, it's like, people are pretty used to volunteering at their church because they know that the churches are, a lot of times, especially smaller churches, are limited in their funds, right? But if you think about doing that on a more communal level, one, you're going to meet great people. You're going to realize that you're going to take ownership of your community, but you're also going to find a way to collectively cost, which is going to help everybody. That's a really interesting approach. I don't know if I've ever thought of that before. So I really like that. Yep. I know that people are always down to save money and pay less taxes if at all possible. So that's obviously,
it's going to be far easier said than done, but
sure.
But I think we can make something great happen.
It's a noble goal, and I think that it's something worth talking about, especially from a volunteer standpoint. So, lastly, we're about to go to commercial break, and I thank you for being on. Just quickly, there is I know you didn't want you're not the person to talk about this, but talk to me about Julie real quick. There's a pickleball opportunity, pickleball league coming to Plano. We're going to have her on the show either next week or the first week of June to talk about that. But I'm just going to kind of leave that as a teaser, and I'll throw up a quick I don't know if you guys have ever played pickleball before. Looks like a lot of fun. You ever played before, Shelby?
I have not. In fact, I didn't even know pickleball existed before I got on council and people started talking about it.
I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it. So it looks like a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to talking with Julie here in the next couple of weeks and getting some more details on what that's going to look like in the city of Plano. Yep. So we'll just leave that as a teaser. Maybe we can get Shelby out there, take some pictures of you kind of swinging the racket around, see how that goes. So, but man, I appreciate you on. I know everybody appreciates you. And guys, stuff like that, as we continue to grow, man, that's what we want to do, is be a voice for the city, an additional voice for the city media departments, for our city council, for our communities at large, for our school boards, our athletic departments, to be an additional voice, an additional medium to help get out the message, because a lot of things that Shelby talked about probably you didn't know, or you probably hadn't thought about, and it really impacts each and every one of us. So we're going to hit a commercial break. We're halfway through the show, guys. We'll be back in about 1 minute with Alan Lester. Great guest. You want to stick around for that. Be right back soon.
The Difference Radio, live stream and podcast, the voice of small businesses and the communities they serve.
Over the last 24 months, The Difference has evolved into a powerful internet media company that helps small businesses and local communities and nonprofit organizations create, produce, broadcast, and distribute a variety of shows, all designed to empower our communities, the businesses, the people, the places, and the events that make our cities, communities, and the folks that live there so very special.
With almost 1.5 million viewers and listeners in the last 2 years, The Difference and its unique strategy of positive impact branding has helped communities and small businesses be seen, be heard, and be remembered.
In a world that is consumed with negative press, media manipulation, and propaganda, The Difference, along with many others who believe in and support The Difference, understand that there is no better way to make the difference in our communities than to highlight the unsung heroes and high achievers that call our towns and communities home. And we wanted to create a platform that does just that, one that brings awareness to and reminds folks of the goodness that lives within so many of us and our neighbors.
And don't forget to hit that like, follow, and subscribe button, and tune in each week so you can experience the difference.
Welcome back, guys. We are in halfway through the show. We've got our, I guess, second half. That was redundant. Hope you guys have enjoyed the show so far. The rest of the time, we're going to be talking. Well, we got a couple things in store for you at the end here, but we talked last week with Ashley Gentry. She helped us understand what was going on with this crazy housing market, what to look for specifically in Plano. If you're selling, if you're buying, what are some of the options? But obviously, most of you, unless you're just independently wealthy and paying cash for your house, most of you are in the mortgage. In the market for mortgages at some aspect or another, wanting to know all the ins and outs. You hear mortgage rates are going up, you hear this, that, and the other. And if you're not an expert in mortgage, as I am not, you will definitely want to pay attention to our guest, Mr. Alan Lester. He is our resident expert on mortgages. And first of all, man, just want to this is really the first time you and I've got a chance to talk. So I want to say hi, how you doing? And just kind of tell us First of all, Alan, if you would, about your relationship with the difference, what you do, why you partner with us, etc.
Well, thanks for having me on, Nathan. So I've actually known Lyndon for, I guess, 20 something years. So we've talked throughout the years.
We're in the same boat in that regard, I guess.
I know.
It's good and bad, kind of good and bad.
Old timers, I guess, huh? But so, I mean, we've gone back and forth with a few of the items, the programs that Lyndon's offered. And I've just seen such great value out of it. So knowing that he's doing this, especially for the communities, along with just us being able to, talk about our own businesses. I mean, I just thought that was huge, and no better way than to do it on social media.
Well, talk about Plano for a second. I know you do business in a lot of the surrounding areas, but talk about Plano. What do you like about Plano? I always ask people because I'm a big foodie, really eat anything, honestly. What's your favorite place to eat in Plano?
Oh my God, there's so many good ones over in Legacy West. So yeah, and excuse the color. It looks like I've been doing some rub on tan here.
Sorry,
but yeah, I mean Legacy West. I mean, I really like Macero. Haywire is a really good one.
Okay, so I have asked 7 or 8 people, and they'll give me a number of different restaurants, but everyone said Haywire, and never. And we're not going to have to go. We might have to do our. We've been talking about doing a show, kind of dinner happy hour somewhere. We might have to pick Haywire because with all the free advertising we've been given, we may just need to go show up there. And it's a burger place, right?
Well, not really burger. I mean, it's a little of everything, but to me, it's more just about atmosphere and just that the place is just so cool. Because you come in on the bottom floor. There's this kind of a swing. There's a bar downstairs, but then you go upstairs and you can actually overlook all of the, the big Legacy Hall area, the outdoor seating area. So it's just, it's atmosphere is probably the best part of it.
That's really cool. So yeah, it's, Plano's got so many good places, man. We're talking with, I can't draw a blank on just all the new restaurants that are coming here, all the restaurants that are here, really just in the Metroplex in general. It's like the mecca for restaurants in the country. A lot of people don't realize that. Just such a foodie area. So, well, want to talk about, can kind of just dive in here. Mortgages, obviously very important in the home buying process. People, one time we went through the refi phase, everybody was refinancing, mortgage rates were down. Now they're starting to turn, going the other direction. I think for the person that, I'm just going to kind of start with the mortgage dummy like myself, and just take us through, why were they so low at some point? Now, why are they turning around? What does that mean for the residents of Plano? If you're buying, if you're selling, if you're not doing either, just kind of walk us through what's happened over the last 2 to 3 years and where we're at now.
Well, I think, a lot of the action in the mortgage market came during COVID. There was just, the market was just hammered so bad. They were forced to, with the loss of jobs, things of that sort, they were forced to keep rates low. We were, refinancing with people with rates in the, low 2s on a 30-year fixed, all the way up through even December of 2021, we were still in the 3s, and now we're basically double that. Just with the talk of inflation and what's happened with the market.
Now, I remember that, a lot of people are panicking about that. I remember, well, I don't personally remember because I was not alive or very young, but I believe it was in the 70s and 80s when mortgage rates got to like 10 or 12%, 15%, something crazy for a short period of time. So 5 or 6% relatively isn't that bad, but when you're paying 2%, people are panicking a little bit. What does that mean for the home buyer or the person selling a home? Like, how is it going to affect them? Is it something to panic about? Obviously, inflation is a concerning thing, but specifically as mortgage rates go up, do you see them capping out somewhere? Like, what's on the horizon here over the next, year or so, best you can tell?
Well, let me get my crystal ball out here. But
I won't hold you to this, by the
way. Yeah. Well, a lot of the experts that we read, basically say that through 2022 all the way into 2023, we're going to still see rate hikes. So, they're gonna hike the rates to try to slow down inflation. But as that happens, we're still going to see interest rates climb. So, we've got rates now just for somebody with perfect credit, great down payment, you're still looking in the upper fives now. So I'd say that the biggest people need to prepare about is, basically getting pre-approved ahead of time, because, you could have been pre-approved last year and you might have qualified for 350, but you could come back this year and you might qualify for 300,000 because the difference in the interest rate, how much that affects the monthly payment, along with the huge rising prices in homes.
How long does the pre-approval last?
Well, when we write a pre-approval letter, it says 30 days. But the reason we do that is just because we want to make sure that we're staying in touch with our clients during the process, because, just going and writing a contract and getting it accepted in 2 or 3 days is not really a reality right now because of the multiple offer situation. But, in essence, it really is good for 120 days because the credit report is good for 120 days. But we just like to reassess, make sure you still have your job, make sure your incomes are still the same, so they're not getting in a bad situation, especially with the rising rates.
So right now, what are some concerns? Obviously, the interest rate as a whole, but when you're dealing with your residential clients, and do you do commercial as well?
I try to specialize in what I'm good in. I can do them, but I specialize in what I'm good at, and I'd rather refer that out than ruin a relationship, because I'm all relational.
Yeah, absolutely.
But some of the pitfalls basically are, just making sure you stay in touch with your lender, because something that might have been 4.5%, 2 months ago, that's 5.5% to 6% now, that when we pre-approved you then, you might not still qualify for that same amount. So getting out there and shopping, and then getting your hopes up, you write a contract, then all of a sudden you can't qualify. So it's just always good to stay in front of your lender as you're out shopping for a home, because of those purposes.
So there's obviously the qualification. There's the rate that you're getting. Is there such thing as a bad mortgage that somebody can get into, basically a feature or how it works or how the loan is paid off, some of the things it doesn't have, that may be something that a new home buyer or someone that's selling their home would want to make sure that they negotiate properly, or that's part of that process?
I think the good thing about the market that changed, I think it's probably 2010 when Dodd-Frank came around, is that the clients are more protected, and the crazy ARM products out there that start at 2% and then are going to all of a sudden skyrocket to 8%, and then people are going to lose their homes. Those things are not around now. There are some other outside the box programs that are coming around, but they're not going to be ones that actually put clients in a bad situation. I think the bigger problem is just getting in and buying a home where some of the stats I've got here for some of the parts in let's just say 75094. When they in 2020 the average sales price was 427, now it's 517. That's just the average. So the low end for increase. Yeah, the low end for Plano is basically 18 to 20%, where some areas were up in mid 30s just year over year. So it's a little harder to buy, but the awesome part is for the people that have other reasons, they've got tons of equity they can tap into to do other things to put themselves in better position, get out of credit card debt, put pools in, and things of that sort, where they didn't have that cash there a couple of years ago.
So if they're able to, they may not be able to get out of their house or upgrade necessarily, because they're now having to find, they may be making $100,000 more than they paid for it. Now they've got to go find a house that's 50, 60, 70, % more expensive than it was. But if they use that equity in their home to upgrade their house, then if the market does level out and things probably will never go back to pre-2020. That's what I'm hearing. But let's say it levels out and goes back to a little more reasonable. Now maybe they can't sell their house. Maybe they bought it at $200,000 and they can't sell it for $300,000 like they can now. But because of the upgrades they were able to make, they can sell it for $260,000 or something like that, in a more favorable market, like when it levels out. Is that kind of my understanding like some of the possibilities there for someone that isn't necessarily going to sell their home, but how they can quote unquote cash in on that equity?
Exactly. I mean, well, and the other thing is at that point, if they're putting 50, 60 grand improvements in, they probably don't want to move anymore, because you're not going to go and do all those kind of improvements unless it's for the reason to sell, just to make it more market friendly, or, just to make it where it's your dream home again, where it might've been when you bought it, 10 years ago. What's
kind of the rule of thumb when you're looking at a neighborhood and you are making improvements where, you want to, and I don't know if I'm phrasing this very well, and we're going to have to actually, let's do this. Cause I got a couple more questions for you. Let's hit our last break and then we'll come back. I'll give you a second to think about it. When you're going to make upgrades, there's kind of a rule of thumb about you don't want to upgrade your house so much that you're out of the range of the rest of the houses around you. So talk about that after we get back from break. Just understand kind of the how much you actually want to do so that you don't take yourself out of contention for being able to get what you put into that house in terms of when you're selling it. So think about that. We'll flip that on the other side of the break, guys. We'll be right back.
The difference is made possible by the following small businesses.
Real property management focus. An unmatched level of service to property owners, investors, and tenants throughout the DFW Metroplex. When you need a trusted roofing company on your side to help you out with storm damage repair for your roof, call Cook DFW Roofing. Serving Anna, Melissa, Princeton, Prosper, Van Alstyne, and all of the DFW area.
Red Branch Realty and owner realtor Ashley Gentry are true champions at every level. As a top producer, Ashley Gentry and Red Branch Realty truly embody their mission of being your supporter and partner in your personal real estate journey. So if finding the best representation possible in achieving the American dream of homeownership is important to you, give Ashley a call at 972-342-1869. WeatherTech General Contracting. We make your home renovation dreams a reality. And manager and team lead for the One Group, a branch of Town Square Mortgage. With over 22 years in the mortgage lending industry, Allen and Town Square Mortgage have many loan program options available from conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, jumbo, and many investor and self-employed programs. So if you're looking for the best in the business, give Allen a call at 214-681-0234.
For more information about our sponsors and their services, or if you would like information on how you and your business can partner with or sponsor this show, or others like it, just check the show description or comments for the relevant links and contact information. And now back to the show.
All righty, guys. Thank you so much. We're here on the final 15 minutes or so of the show. A couple of things I want to get to before we finish up with Alan here. And thank you so much, Alan, for jumping on. I want to bring a couple of things to everybody's attention here as far as major events coming up in Plano. If you guys are artsy people, you're into art galleries, man, we've got the ACP Art Gallery, which is in downtown Plano on 16th Street. They've got a huge art events coming there. It's actually now through the end of the month. So you want to go check that out. They're always bringing in new exhibits, etc. It's available works. You can check the works online that are going to be there and then kind of pick and choose what you want to see. But I'm going to be honest with you. This is, one of the things that I'm even seeing as a show host as we're preparing for the shows. Like when I think of things to do in Plano, I don't think art exhibit or art gallery. You just don't really think about those things, but it's literally 5 minutes from my house. And so go check that out. That's going to be really awesome. Also, the Plano House of Comedy. They've been doing a competition here now for a couple months. It's about the funniest person with a job, right? So basically a part-time comedian. And so they've got the semifinals coming up. It's actually tonight. Semifinals are tonight tonight and next Tuesday. The final's going to be the 31st. So come out there, $5 tickets. You can basically roast and make fun of people and heckle. They may kick you out. I don't know. Don't be a jerk, obviously. But Plano House of Comedy. It's going to be a really cool night. So make sure you come check that out. $5, pretty dang cheap. And they'll have the competition, of course, for the funniest person with a day job that they've been going through here for the last couple of months. So make sure you check that out. So, Alan, we're going to wrap up with you. Appreciate you jumping on, of course. And before the break, I asked you about, what's that kind of perfect index, I guess, for, how much improvements you want to put into your house based on the value around the houses that are around you in your neighborhood or your kind of area of town.
Yeah, so I don't think there's an actual, percentage of, of your home value that you have to focus on. But I think, this is going to be a bigger question for a realtor. But I think that the biggest piece you'll see is you're going to get most value out of remodeling the kitchen, remodeling bathrooms, and making sure that most people nowadays love the outdoor area. And, the last home I bought, not the one I'm in now, but the last home I bought for the outdoor area, the house sucked, but the outdoor area was great. So, I bought it. And then, as I'm into it, I'm like, well, shoot, now I got to just think more about that. But outdoor areas is huge for people nowadays.
Those great outdoor areas that you can really enjoy from December 15th to January 3rd. That's pretty much it.
Right.
Nice. Where it's not too hot and not too cold. So I'm just kidding. Well, man, I appreciate you being on, Alan. And I'm gonna, if you can stick around for a couple more minutes, I want to bring Lyndon in and have him pop in. As we're, you've been a contributor and a sponsor a long time, Alan. And I want to just kind of a roundtable quickly with the three of you guys and talk about a little bit of your experience. You touched on that a little bit, but Lyndon, you and I have been talking about growing this show and growing these shows, and I'd just like you to talk about your experience with Alan, but also some of the other partners and contributors and some of the things that you and I have been talking about that we feel like could really bring us to the next level in terms of being able to provide what we wanted to provide to the citizens of Plano, Frisco, and some of these surrounding communities.
Well, there's a lot to wrap your head around when we start talking about this. But Alan's known me. I've been a business development strategist probably for 30 years. And, one of the things that I've noticed through the hard times, which this being one of them, but Alan and I was talking today about 2008, the people that develop the best relationships have the best chance of surviving through the tough and difficult times. Any of us can make it when it's good. It's the ones that stand out and the ones that are really good at what they do are the ones that find a way to make it through the tough and challenging times. And as I was in business way before there was a thing called the internet, and definitely called Facebook. And, oh, absolutely. The internet wasn't around. Facebook, YouTube, all of these things. We live in a time right now there's never been a better time for a small business owner because of the opportunity we have to get brand awareness at such a low cost. I mean, you can almost do it for nothing. If you work with companies like The Difference, there obviously will be a cost there. But what we wanted to do, Nathan, is I wanted to create a platform where we all could come together, just like the three of us, and for the greater good, talk about the things that are going to benefit communities, benefit industries, things like that, and allow people to get to know us better. That's the most challenging part for a small business owner. Small businesses don't struggle or fail usually because of a bad product or service. They struggle or fail because not enough people knew who they were and what they were doing. With social media, with the internet, that should not be an excuse for anyone. Now, as we did that for small businesses, I started to realize, based on the feedback that I was getting, is there's just a lot of consumers out there. There's a lot of people that live in and around these communities that are watching going, hey, I didn't know that guy did that. I really like that guy. I like his core values. I like, I connected with him. And now it starts to generate business, right? They start to build these professional relationships. So you and I talked about that, and we expanded this into the community difference. And that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be going around the DFW Metroplex to what I call small communities. They are based on Dallas. Nothing wrong with Dallas. But Dallas is kind of the mecca, I guess, of media and advertising. And so some of the smaller communities don't have that opportunity. And sometimes because of the mega media companies, they don't get down to the basics of what's going on in the community and really allow the person advertising, marketing, or promoting themselves a chance to get connected.
Yeah, so Alan, you've actually really taken advantage of that opportunity. You've been a great partner with The Difference for a while. Obviously, you've known Lyndon a long time. And you talked about, your biggest, your biggest kind of core value, it seems like, is just building relationships, and everybody says that. Everybody wants to do that, I think, but doing it and doing it well are two different things. We got about a minute left here before we wrap up, but just talk about how the difference has helped you do that, but more or less, but also just in general, how important that is in business.
Well, I think dealing with Lyndon over the years, he actually helped me come from a transactional to a relational type person. And now I heard y'all talking about master networks. I've actually launched my own BNI group in Rockwall, and I'm president of that. So, to me, drawing together and bringing together the different business owners is how, it can help us all. Whether it helps me now or later, one day they're going to notice who I am, and they're going to call me because they remember seeing me online and trying to make a name of myself. So that excites me.
Well, yeah, that's really cool, because at the end of the day, we've already discovered the value of just of meeting people and seeing people in their element, right? Whether it's our relationships with the school board and the schools in general, or with small businesses, just the different areas of community life that have been largely overlooked in terms of really providing content and awareness. And obviously, if you build a house, pretty aware that you need a mortgage, you need insurance, you need a realtor. But if you aren't in that market necessarily, you may not be paying attention to what's going on. You may not know the necessity of ownership. Okay, I can still access the equity in my house and maybe make some improvements. Things like that are very important. You don't know what's happening in the community because oftentimes we don't pay attention to what our community leaders are doing. Well, Shelby is fighting for a lot of Plano citizens in a lot of ways I think are really, really important. And so building these relationships, our goal to bring the fruit of those relationships to you guys as the citizens and the listeners and subscribers and whatnot. And so, it's very important as we grow. And if you're somebody that knows, this might be a good opportunity to have somebody on the show, or a relationship that you have with a coach or someone in school districts or a veterans group or first responders, or any stories that you hear as citizens that are just inspiring, want to share, man, we'd love to hear those. We'd love to find a spot to put those on and continue to highlight the great things that are happening in Plano. So you guys may be remembering that we want to do a giveaway. We talked about that in the show for one of the really it's the best season I've ever had. I'm not lying, but it's amazing. Good Mistake seasoning. So what we're going to do is the first person to hashtag the difference goodness, hashtag the difference goodness in the YouTube or YouTube comments or Facebook comments. Now you got to do that, but you also have to tell us your quick grilling story or a grilling nightmare, like something that went really well or something that didn't go well. So tell us that. We'll announce the winner next week. And then I'll get in contact with you, get your address, get it mailed out to you. Or if you're really close, we can just meet up for coffee or something. So hashtag the difference goodness for Good Mistake seasoning. Tell us your grilling nightmare or your grilling set. The first person to do that on YouTube and Facebook will get a free bottle of Jason's delicious goodness seasoning. So, guys, it's our time. Thank you, Alan. Appreciate you jumping on. Thank you to Shelby Williams, councilman for the great city of Plano. Thank you, of course, to Jason Below with Good Mistake Seasoning, guys. That has been another fantastic week. We hope to bring you great content every week. Make sure you like, listen, and subscribe. This has been the Community Difference. Guys, have a great week. Make sure you're doing something good. Do an act of kindness, a random act of kindness, some way to volunteer to contribute to life in the great city of Plano. Until next time, you guys have a great week.
Thank you for tuning into the Community Difference. If you enjoyed the show, take something you learned and apply it in your community or your business in order to make the difference for someone else. Remember, the smallest change begins with a single action, but a single action can make all the difference. A special thank you to today's amazing guests. Also, if you'd like to be on the show to share your unique story and how it made the difference in your community, please contact Lyndon Wilson at lendonw@thedifferenceradio.com. Until next time, this has been the Community Difference in Plano, Texas, hosted by Nathan Smith.